Okay, last stream of the day. Now, this is Saturday, and what usually happens on a Saturday is not what usually happens at every show, but it does happen at every Blade show, and that's we end the day. We all decide to grab our bags and our knives and all the things that we got, especially the guys who are there collecting, and we convene on a certain place. Now, usually we go to the park. Last year we ended up doing it at our home. We had an Airbnb where we just got all of their friends, our knife collectors, our knife makers, friends from other parts of the industry. And we get together and we have what's called a braai. Now, for those of y'all who don't know what a braai is, it's okay. It really is a barbecue. That's all that it really is. It's just a South African way of saying we gather together and we have a barbecue. And the best thing about Blade Show is not that we scored a great knife. Because a lot of times, let's just be honest, there's a few collectors that'll have like 2 or 3 knives, and there only 2 or 3 people will get them, and that's it. If you don't get one, you're kind of out of luck. But then somebody else might have one. But it's all about the hunt. It's all about all the things. So what we decided to do, we decided to invite one of our friends. His name's Mike, but I'm going to bring him on. You probably know him as Heels with Steel. Good to see you, man.
How's it going, Nathan?
It's going great. I guess you've been around for the last few years, probably since we started African Custom Knives. I mean, we've known you since right around that time when we started out. We figured out that you were a collector, and we met you at a show, and I think we quickly became friends.
Yeah, it didn't take long. I think I've attended 2 braais so far, and they're just a great time. Thank you to you and your brother and everybody that puts that on, and your dad. It's so great to meet all you guys. But it's such a cool experience. We get to talk to makers from South Africa and other places that we never would have the opportunity to chat with. So it's really cool. Thanks for
that. It's one thing to be in the show when you're like talking to them and maybe trying to buy a knife. And it's another thing kind of removing yourself and saying, oh, the pressure's off. Right. So from a knife maker, collector, and a collector perspective, from both ends, really, there's no like interchange except food and a little bit of fun, talking, some conversation. So, we don't have the food here. It's just me and you hanging out. I asked him to come on and share. Some of you guys, if you follow him on Instagram, will probably recognize some of these knives that he has out in the front of his table. So first, we want to give thanks to your daughter for setting this up for us and making sure that it's nice. And
was instrumental in setting up this display in front of me here. Way too many for me to carry without a case. So
no doubt. Well, I asked you to come, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. And you can probably give me use the knives that you have in front of you to kind of tell me what you think. But I guess the first question is, when you go to a Blade show, are you looking for something specific? Or are you just looking in general? Or do you have I don't know, give me an idea of what you're looking for when you go to a Blade show.
Well, okay. I'm not a seasoned show attendee, just so you know, and so the people that are watching this know. I've been to Blade twice, and I've been to just a couple other shows, period. So my experience, I'm not recommending what I did to anybody else. It's just, it worked for me. The first year I went to Blade, it was massively overwhelming, as you would imagine. You walk into that center and it's just too much to see.
1,000
first day, yeah, way too much. And the first day I was basically just finding my legs and figuring out where things were. And then after that, I just was happy to be there and happy to have a chance to go around and sample knives from all the makers that were available. I mean, this hobby is weird because, or this as a collectible, it's weird because we can't go to a store and try it out and see if you like it and take it home. You kind of have to just experiment and trust and just buy it, or just roll the dice and hope it's going to work out for you. But at a show, you can actually handle them and feel them and see if it's something that meets your needs or your specifications. So Blade was real overwhelming the first year. The second year I went was more about getting together with guys that I had met the previous year. It was very, very different. It became much more of a social event than a knife buying event. And clearly I bought way less knives. Every show I've gone to, I bought less and less, but I've enjoyed it more and more.
So you actually, when you go to a show, the second year, you had a kind of an idea of what to get or how the show works, because Blade Show, unlike other shows, has a very peculiar way of reaching people and getting people kind of locked in. Sometimes they have lotteries, and sometimes they'll have. What is your experience with those type of things?
Well, the lotteries are always good because everybody gets a chance, and a lot of the auctions and the first come first serves. I mean, if you're not there right away, or if you're not on someone's Facebook page and you don't say the magic word, some of the things that they're offering aren't going to be available to you. So lotteries make that, in my opinion, much nicer, much better, much more accessible. The other thing I really enjoyed was a lot of the makers were sort of highlighting their knives on their Instagram pages and Facebook pages before the show, and they said, these are what we're going to have available. And if you can get in early enough, you can run to their table and try for a shot at that first come, first serve that you otherwise might not have gotten. But it's hard to prioritize. You've got a lot of great makers that are putting out amazing stuff. And which table do you run to first, right? So
Right.
It's tough to prioritize.
Well, and that kind of leads into the next thing. So it looks like you've amassed a good collection, and these are just a few that I know that you have. These are just South African makers, from what I can understand. I can see. Looks like just South African makers. But because of your following, because now you've amassed a little bit of a following on Instagram because of the knives you collect.
Yeah, I like to share the photos with people. It's fun. I've made so many friends throughout this hobby, and this community has just been fantastic for me. But yeah, I do get a reminder from my daughter every now and again about how many followers I have on Instagram. I honestly don't know the number, but she's been giving me updates about every couple hundred. She'll tell me when I meet a different milestone or something. I probably should recognize that a little more, but I just don't take the time.
Well, now, so you haven't been collecting for too many years. You haven't been. How long have you been collecting?
I'd say probably just starting a couple months before Blade Show 18, so 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, not
And
too long.
what got you specifically wanting to collect knives?
Camping. So it all started with camping. My girlfriend and I, avid campers, and of course, when you start getting into camping, you have to have knives.
Sure.
And so I needed to purchase a couple fixed blades, and then I wanted to have a folding knife to have in my pocket, and so
Right.
I got a couple of those, and then somehow I ended up on blade forums, and then it just went from there.
Just got sick with it.
Yeah, I did. I got very sick with it. Met Tony Meador, who I'm sure a lot of folks in here know.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Tony was awesome for me and helped me out, and he was a sort of a collecting mentor for me, and really taught me how to start an Instagram account and how to get involved in the knife community. I just didn't even know that was available, or didn't know that was something that I could tap into to really, expand the horizons and make things more available. So it's worked out really, really well.
Awesome. Well, okay. So I think that I could talk about how you got into to knife collecting a lot, just because I think people are interested, and some of them might be like, oh well, I'd love to get into collecting. But it's an expensive hobby. It's something that not everybody can just drop $1,000 on a knife and feel good about it.
No, that's absolutely right. I feel very, very fortunate to have been in a position where I could buy a knife and check it out. And a lot of people do that, and if they don't like it, if it doesn't suit their needs, they sell it. But I tend to find something in each knife that I really fall in love with, and they become real personal for me. And if you know anything about my track record, I haven't really sold that many knives. I do kind of get attached, and I appreciate every one of them.
So now that you appreciate, I hear that you're appreciating every one of them. I want to hear maybe some of your favorite ones that you have in front of you, and maybe hearing a couple stories.
Sure. Well, I'll start with this one. This is perhaps my favorite knife, period. This is made by Taste Meads. It's a Westinghouse with a Zerk shield, and it's special because my daughter got this for me for my birthday last year. It wasn't Christmas. It was a special gift for an event that we recognized, either a birthday. I think it was a birthday. But I just love this little slippy. It's so beautiful. Tace did an amazing job on it. He did a beautiful hand rub. I don't know if you can see it here, but yeah. This is a knife that I carry with other knives almost daily, and I just love it.
Nolan says hi, and that he's calling mine. I think he just called on that knife.
He calls mine. Okay. That's awesome. He says that on every knife that Taze posts.
Well, and then Taze does post. I mean, he did she special order that knife, or did she see it and then say, well, I want to buy it later, or how did that happen?
No, she got together with Taze, and she and I know him well, and my girlfriend know him quite well. But Sydney and I have visited him in South Africa. We went on a trip with he and his family. It was just unbelievable, and that's when I attended the African Custom Knife Guild show, Knife Makers Guild show.
Right.
But yeah, she had a relationship with him. She calls him Uncle Taze, and she contacted him and arranged to have that knife built for me.
Well, and see, that's something that other collectors could take a hint from. I mean, because that's once you begin to develop a relationship with some of these makers, sometimes they'll open their books and close them, and that's just it. You can't get anything from them. But right. After you develop a relationship, maybe you've purchased a knife from them before, or you interact with them a couple times online. They're more open to doing that sort of thing and making something custom, right?
Right, absolutely. It probably might not be looked at as above water for some folks on some occasions, because I think there's a risk of people maybe getting book spots or getting jumped ahead of book spots. I try not to do that. In fact, I'm emphatic about it when I talk to people. If I get an offer to get a build from somebody, I don't want to jump in front of other people who have a book spot.
Well, the thing is, though, maybe if they go to South Africa and go on safari with, one of the makers, then they can jump a spot. I mean, how many people are doing that?
Makers do what they want to do, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if your uncle or, supposed uncle might be a knife maker, I think you could get a little adopted uncle. I should say adopted.
Probably. Well, speaking of that, this is a knife that I actually was involved in making with Taze in his shop. When
you went to his shop, you helped make that knife.
I did. I had very little involvement in it. I cut out the general profile of the blade on the bandsaw, and I did a couple other minor things, but we were too busy having fun doing other things to spend too much time in the shop.
Well, and that's another story right there. Where else can you say I helped make this knife? I mean, yes, obviously you probably didn't do a whole lot of the grinding or polishing,
right?
Sharpening.
Or the important parts, just sloppy cuts that he could clean up after me.
Well, but still, that's a story that most guys. I mean, most guys who carry a knife don't really have that kind of story. I mean, where'd you get that knife? I got it at Walmart, But when you have something that's custom and you say, I went to Africa and I helped and do this, I mean, where else are you going to get that story?
Right. Yeah, I guess that probably helps for people who ask me to buy some knives and I say, no, I really can't let this one go. Well, most of them have a story like that. Right,
for sure. Yeah. So how many Taze Meads knives do you have?
On me? Let's see. I don't know. I don't know a number, but I can just start showing them to you. So I have these two that you've seen.
Right.
This is a beautiful mini Dino.
Oh, man, I love that one.
Yeah, this is a great one. And speaking of which.
Oh, you got ebony and ivory right there.
Yeah, it's a nice pair. Nolan will appreciate that. He likes that black and white contrast. This with the crosscut micarta. Crosscut's one of my favorite materials of all time.
Yeah, great material.
Beautiful Westy shield. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Another Meads. This one, another crosscut micarta and a mini.
Oh, wow.
More Westy from him. He likes that. He likes that material. This is a Laney's clip with stag. So little natural material.
I know a lot of guys who would look at that and covet it.
Yeah, this is a special one. This is badass. Really sweet. Little versatility from Taze Meads. This is
so tell us a little bit about that one, because most people know Taze for his traditional looking slip joints, but that's something different. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Very different. So obviously, if you recognize it, this is modeled after Natty Amore's Mini Sabotage Black Snow Customs. Natty is one of my favorite makers of all time, and as is Taze. And they got together. Taze got permission from Natty to build this knife. It's a one of one. He says he'll never make another, and this is a knife that he auctioned off that I simply couldn't let go. I've had this, oh geez, year and a half probably, and certainly one of my favorite knives. It's got marble carbon fiber and just the Damascus treatment on the bolsters, which is just sick.
Fantastic. Yeah, if you want to see close-ups of any of these knives, go to Mike's Instagram, Heels with Steel, at Heels with Steel. And let me ask you this: your Instagram, Heels with Steel, where did that come from?
Before I tell you that, one more Meads knife.
Oh, there you go. Oh, the flipper,
He
right?
also makes flippers.
Well, he doesn't also make flippers. He's made a few flippers.
And fixed blades. This is also one of his. So you asked me about my Meads collection.
Man, you've got a good handful there.
Yeah, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's all. There may be one hidden somewhere, but I think that's all of his knives. Heels with steel. I'm a pediatric surgeon, and surgeons heal with steel. So it's 3 words into one. It was either that or cut kids, and I thought heels with steel would be better.
Cut kids, probably not the best, but I mean, I think it really ties into it. So you really had a connection with knives before you had a collection of knives.
Oh, sure. I mean, I use cutting tools all the time, every day, and cutting with a scalpel is obviously something I do for a living, and it's how I take care of my patients primarily. So anything I can do to expand what I love from a career is a great hobby for me. And my work is really like a hobby too. I don't feel like it's a job.
Well, I see a couple knives in front of you right now that actually is one of my favorite makers from South Africa, Andre Thorburn.
Yeah, I figured that's what you're going to talk about.
Yeah,
so this knife is a cool one, well, for a lot of reasons, but I was actually shopping for it with Tace at Blade Show the first time he and I had met. But look at the file work on that.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. This is one of my favorite Thorburns. It's one of the simpler ones.
Yeah, it's the L51, right?
Yep, exactly. But wow, it's got that thwack that everybody loves. Amazing action. So there's that one. This is one of my favorites from him also. And
now, when you were at the Guild Show, did you meet his wife?
I did. I love her. She's wonderful. I met her at Blade Show too when I bought this knife.
Yeah.
And she does incredible work there.
Now that one looks like it had some Sanmai or had some kind of different steel.
Yeah, it does. That is the what is it? Takafu? Did I pronounce that properly? Takafu.
Yep. Looks great.
Yeah.
He doesn't do very many of those, so that's actually a really nice blade on that one.
Thank you. This has his hand rub and a beautiful bolster as well.
Yep.
Kind of captured the purple tones in that one. And of course the file work.
The file work is always amazing.
Yeah.
Now it looks like you have probably 8 or 9 or 10 of those as well, right?
I have 4 Thorburns. Well, that's just him though. If you talk about the A2s.
The A2s as well, yeah.
So people seem to like this one on my post.
Absolutely.
That also
I noticed the theme. You do have a lot of West. Is that Westy as well?
This is ivory, linen ivory micarta.
Linen ivory micarta.
Yeah.
But it looks like you have a style that you kind of like.
Yeah, I do tend to fall in patterns. This thing has amazing action for such a small little guy. Yeah, well, same sort of pattern. Here's another A2 style, and that is Westy and Zerk.
Yeah, very nice. That's a little bit bigger knife too.
Yeah, this is a good size. This is the 83, right?
Mm-hmm. So do you carry usually a bigger knife, or do you tend towards a smaller knife?
I carry every knife that I own. So in scrubs, when I'm wearing them during work, it's more comfortable to wear a smaller knife, just because when I sit down, it doesn't poke me. I have to wear it appendix style, so to speak. We don't have front pockets in our scrubs, and so I just clip it right on the the tie string around the waist, and I keep the knife on the inside, and the clip is the only part that sticks out. So if I have a long knife like this A3, if I sit down, it kind of jams me in the front a little bit, or I just slide it over to the side if I've got something super long. But I don't do a lot of sitting at work, so I can pretty much carry anything I have.
So when you're, they don't say anything to you when you're carrying these big old knives at work?
No, it's pretty well hidden inside my scrubs. And the only part that sticks out, like I mentioned, is the clip. But I've got a cell phone and a pager and all this other gear on my hip. It's like a police officer with all their waist belt gear. So it doesn't even stand out. Nobody has ever mentioned it except when I get caught flipping them. I tend to flip them when I'm walking in the halls.
Just walking through, and you're just in the
just
hospital.
walking, and I don't even know I'm doing it. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it happens around my house too. My wife doesn't like it too much. So the next question I would have is this: You're in scrubs. You have it. It's not necessarily in a pocket. Have you ever lost one? I mean, maybe the D10 on the clip is not so, and it just kind of falls out. Have you ever had that?
Nope, not yet. I generally will have my hand go down to where the clip lives all the time. Like when I'm walking, it's basically subconscious, and I'll just do a little move where my hand will just go there to feel for it. I've never lost one yet. I have left one in my call room or something, and I do that little hand move, and it's not with me, and I panic for about a millisecond, but I instantly just head back, and there it is. So nothing lost as of yet.
Now, one of the questions I had, somebody making a comment right here says, how does the Zerk hold up? The wear? How does the wear hold up on it? Because
little scratches, little snail trails, especially in polished Zerk and things like that. But that's just part of owning a knife and using it. If they're going to get scratched, they're going to get little dings. I used to freak out about that, especially when I dropped one and it got a scuff on it. I've even been known to send one back to get a spa treatment done for it. But I stopped doing that. I use my knives and they get beat up a little bit, but it's not a big deal to me. Yeah,
because some of them are fairly not cheap knives. How about we put it that way?
Oh, some of them are not cheap. Oh, I forgot this one. Here's another Taste Meads knife. Sorry, Taste. Forgot about you. This is actually the first slip joint I got from them. This is all copper.
I actually, did you get that one from us? We actually had a couple of them, the Gunstock copper, and that's a really nice one. I remember holding it, and it was a really nice. Yeah, I thought I got this direct from him, but I could be wrong. This was the first one I got, so it's been a while. Well, and plus the patina, I can see the patina on that copper starting to come. Oh yeah, especially this side. Look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think you need to get some nice quality picks and put that patina up there. I will. I'll do that for sure. Well, what else? What's good that you have? What else you have to show us? Got some Jason Guthrie knives. We like Jason Guthrie. Yeah, this is the first one I ever got from him. This wasn't from him. I got this from Tony. Okay. Tony Meador, and this is what started out our conversations, and how he sort of got into or became interested in helping me out. But this Ranger, it's a beautiful knife. Love this one. Very simple in design, but just so smooth. His knives have a smoothness to them. This is very, very, very different. And then, of course, went out with this banger after that one. Oh yeah, well just step it up more, don't you? Just a little different. A couple different touches on this one, but that's full mokutai on both sides. So what happens if you have a knife just like that? You're carrying that, you pull it out, and you're showing somebody. I mean, does it just blow them away, or what does it do for somebody who's not a knife person? Because I know knife collectors look at that and go like, their eyes get big and they're like, holy moly, that thing's amazing. But what about someone who, is just a regular person? Yeah, well, it depends on the person. A lot of them think they're scary and stabby, and they sort of back up instinctively as soon as you pull it out. And the other half just come right in and they say, please let me have it. And they like to feel them and touch them. And then I really enjoy showing the action and showing different parts of a knife that, like just how to use a lock bar. Like you give this knife to 10 people, 8 of them aren't going to know how to close it. And just going through the process of showing them how the lock bar slides over so you can move the knife blade. And they start looking at it and they start understanding an appreciation for how it's built. And that's a lot of fun for me. I really like introducing people to how people make knives. Even though so you're just giving them a little taste. It's like a drug dealer, like a little junkie. You're just giving them a little bit. That's true. Just feeding them, right? Yeah. I've got a lot of friends into knife making, knife collecting. Right. And it all starts from them, checking out what I have, or we go camping together and they see what I have. And the cool thing is there are some inexpensive knives. I mean, you're showing us the best of the best, the cream of the crop, but there's a lot of guys. I started out, $50 knife. I mean, that for me, $50 to spend on a knife when I first started, was a lot of money. And then I realized, this knife doesn't quite have everything that I want. And then I'd pick up $100 knife. I remember buying my first $100 knife and thinking, $100 on a knife?
Yeah.
You know,
So it's a difficult thing to go across that barrier.
Right.
$200 was my limit for a long time.
Right.
A long time.
Mhm.
And I still have those knives. I really do. And I still use them. I take them with me camping. I use them as my hard use knives. But yeah, $50 was a ceiling for a while. And then I got, like you say, a $100 knife and then a $200, and then how can you go back?
Right.
So we're going to be collecting them. Now there are production knives that come out now that I'm still really interested in, and I still buy them. And they're great knives. And you can save a lot of money if you're going to be comparing it to what you would spend on a custom, but you really can't compare. I mean, if you're just going to be, poring over the details and looking at every aspect, and if you really appreciate the action and how it carries, you really can't beat a custom knife.
And the thing is this, and this for me, especially last night, I went out to eat with my wife. We've been married for 17 years. And so last night we decided to go out. Thank you so much. We went out to eat, but when we got to the place, it's a local steakhouse, and we just decided we were going to eat. And I pull out my Andre Thorburn that she had specially made for me on our 15th anniversary. In fact, she contacted Andre's wife. They started, wheeling and dealing and figuring out what to do, and they made something that really I can never replace. It's the story. It's something that I'll never sell, something that I'll pass on to my kids, something that is a collectible, but that I can use. And so we're 2 years later, but every anniversary or every nice party, or if I go out to eat with my wife somewhere, I'll take my Andre Thorburn knife, and that's the one that I carry for that specific time. I took it out. And they brought what pained me was they brought the steak knife from the restaurant, and they set it to my side, and I kind of just kind of pushed it away. It's not sharp. It's the worst knife. It's big and clunky and square and ugly, and I just kind of pushed it to the side, and then pulled out my knife and said. And Lainey looked at me, and she's like, yeah, she just knew. She just didn't have to say anything. She just knew.
She said, I'll be right back with a wooden plate.
Right. But that's the kind of thing that I think that most people are missing out. It's the experience. It's the story. It's the heirloom quality of a good custom knife.
For sure. Yeah, like the story. This is a fixed blade I got at the Knife Makers Guild show, and the handle is milkwood. And when we were on that safari with Tace and his family, my favorite tree in Africa was the African milkwood tree. And so I picked up this fixed blade at the show with the handle made of that wood. I just think it's a beautiful wood. The tree is gorgeous. If you look at probably any iconic photo of Africa, with the sunset behind the giant tree and the elephant, the silhouette of the elephant, that's probably
like that one right there.
Yeah, I think that is a milk tree. I think that's it. Milkwood tree. Beautiful. Like on your logo.
Yeah, well, we like the milkwood tree too. I mean, we think it looks kind of like, for someone who hasn't seen it, it looks kind of like a flamed maple. Is what it is.
Agreed.
So, all right. Any other good stories that we need to hear before we log off together? It's been a quite a good journey right here. I appreciate you hanging out with.
Oh, no, it's been fun. No, I mean, there's a story behind every single one of these knives in front of me. But I know
let's save it for another time. I think that's what this is all about, really. I mean, we hear these stories, and we enjoy spending time together. I'm disappointed in the COVID. Disappointed that it shut down our fun and shut down but you know what? I know as a doctor, you appreciate the fact that, they've been a little bit more on the safe side than not.
Oh, for sure. When they talked about rescheduling Blade and pushing it back, I mean, I was out for sure. There was no way I thought it would be smart to attend a show like that at this time. But hopefully we'll be okay for next year. This year is pretty much out for everything in my mind.
Well, and all the shows have been canceled. There's nothing else for us to do. So I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to continue doing like somewhat of a virtual show. We have knife makers who are making knives. They're in their, in their garage or in their shop, in their house and stuff. And they're still making great stuff. And so what we're going to try to do, I think, moving forward is maybe every month or two, try to do something and where we really focus on helping and telling another story of another knife maker. We've already, this yesterday and today introduced a couple new makers, and we'll have actually a few more knives coming in that of guys who wanted to sell at the show and just couldn't. So they're just shipping them to us. And when we get them, we'll do another video and have them on, do a little interview, and they'll tell us their story. And so Thank you for hanging out with us. I really, really, truly appreciate it. I wish we could hang out and, have a good braai together. But
again someday.
We will.
For sure. And I want to shout out to JD. I don't have his golds here in front of me, but I've got a couple of them back in the closet. And you were talking about knives that aren't so expensive, and this is a really cool little fixed blade that he had made. And other great makers in South Africa, the Steenkamp brothers. This is one of Cozy's knives.
Man, we could probably have another hour conversation if all the knives you have on your table in front of me.
Yeah, for sure. But I understand. But another time, hopefully.
Hey, you know what? Let's just say next time we do this, I'll give you a call, and we'll do the same thing with a few different makers.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Perfect. Good to talk to you. We'll hope you stay safe, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Take care, Nathan. Thanks for having me.